I'm going to play a little bit of your commercial because it really spoke to me. I was like, I don't know. I was like, I got chills. I was like, this was so good because it kind of, I guess it reminded me a little bit of like, what was her name? Kimberly Clark.
Kimberly Klasick?
Kimberly Klasick. Yeah. Same kind of thing where you were like, you're like walking through the neighborhood and it's just so real. So I'm just going to play like a little bit of this for you guys who haven't seen it because I was pretty moved by it and it's so genuine.
My name is Billy Prempeh and I've lived in Patterson, New Jersey my entire life. I'm a first-generation American, and I'm a child of legal immigrants. So hear me when I say this. America is a great nation, and Americans are incredible
so this
people.
Stoop that you're sitting on,
otherwise, it still looks like that.
This is very close to where you actually are from. Yeah.
Yes. I stand for our national anthem.
Did you do anything to this set? You probably just showed up and were like,
that's exactly how it still looks like. All this looks like this. It still looks like this. American privilege. Because being an American is hands down the greatest privilege on the face of the earth.
Yes.
And I'm so proud of our rich American history. So proud, in fact, that when I was 18, I enlisted into the United States Air Force and served my country during wartime. Unfortunately, when I returned home, I returned to find my city of Patterson, New Jersey, literally became a war zone. How could this have happened? Politicians have allowed our community to be destroyed by drugs, violence, and bad education. Our permanent elected class, they don't care about us. I will not sit back and allow our community to be destroyed any longer. And if you love this place as much as I do, you're not going to sit back and allow it to happen either. So for that reason, I'm throwing my hat in the ring. I'm running for Congress to fix this.
What time of day were you taping
this? I'm running to represent the New Jersey 9th Congressional District. About 11, 12. I believe freedom is worth defending. And I firmly believe.
Did you get a lot of like funny looks when you were shooting?
No, actually, every time we messed up a set, people would laugh. Do it again. Pascrell has been representing Patterson for nearly 40 years. People resonate with the message. We live here, you know, so 9 years. It wasn't a negative response. So I got one question for you.
I bet you probably have like a crowd at some point.
Has Bill Pascrell made life better? Like not at this part. The part where we got to Rosa Parks Boulevard, yes. I'll show you.
Yeah, you're mentioning some very real stats here. 1 in 119 people in your district are victims of violent crime, and you said that number has even gone up.
Yes, it's higher now, which is unfortunate. 85% of American cities are safer than here.
Yeah, that's you have that pinned to your Twitter, so if people want to watch the rest of it, it's a really good little promo.
Unfortunately, it's a nice promo, but the sad thing is, like, wow, that sounds really cool. Like, I mean, that sounds really bad. That's nuts. But it's like, you know, living here, it's pretty annoying. It's like every single day you wake up and on the Newsbreak application, I don't know if you're familiar with Newsbreak, but it's a little app that tells you about local news. There's not a single day where I wake up and someone hasn't been shot, someone hasn't been robbed, or both, or, you know, it's crazy. Someone's kidnapped, someone's raped. There's always crazy nonsense happening in the city, and it sucks because I believe that a lot of the crime and violence is allowed to happen in the city. And as you saw in that commercial, there's some areas where there's construction happening. This is my opinion. Our police department, they're super understaffed right now. They're pushing the rhetoric, Black Lives Matter. They painted it in front of the police department. They're not getting the funding that they need to actually get their job done. And most cops just don't want to be cops anymore. And it's not because they're bad people, but it's like, how could you be a police officer where you're 150 plus officers understaffed? You're not getting the funding necessary. You know, it's hard to build community cohesion because they're pushing this rhetoric of anti-cop, anti-police. And then on top of that, when police are supposed to be patrolling the streets, they can't. There's supposed to be about 20 plus patrol vehicles. And the last time I checked, I believe there's only 8 on the road at any given time. So it's kind of difficult to manage all of these problems, especially when you don't have the manpower, you don't have the equipment or the resources and even the backing and support of the local politicians and constituents to resolve these kinds of problems. Bill Pascrell, he claims to say that Black Lives Matter, and he still has that video on his page like, you should vote for me because I believe that Black Lives Matter, yet Black lives are being lost at an exponential rate here in Patterson, and he's doing absolutely nothing about it. The problem is not white people or random people driving up and down the block with cone hoods on their head, you know, like the KKK. That's not the case. You know, it's gang violence, you know, and there seems to be no end in sight. And the thing that's sad about it is they use this as an opportunity to promote and market themselves. But like, I actually live under this stuff. Bill Pascrell isn't in Patterson. He doesn't hang here. You know, even the mayor of our city, he's bragging about how nice the city's becoming and how he's going to make it like Hoboken of New Jersey. For the people that don't know, Hoboken used to be an inner city, essentially, and it became this super ritzy, yuppie, hipster kind of town where it's super expensive and no one can even afford to live there. They're building all kinds of developments in Patterson, developments that the people in Patterson living here currently can't even afford. So they're allowing the violence to increase. It decreases the property value. Then outsiders come in, they buy up our homes, they destroy our homes, they rebuild these super ritzy apartments that no one can afford in the middle of the Fourth Ward. And it's mainly happening, especially to a lot of the Black people. The Fourth Ward is predominantly African American, and we're being pushed out of our community. We can't even afford to live here anymore. But you'll see these yuppies walking around in our city like, oh, yeah, this is such a hipster, trendy place. We could live here, but we're being pushed out. And the mayor is doing absolutely nothing about it. So I don't find this to be a conspiracy that these outsiders are able to come in and buy up property for pennies on the dollar, yet there's no programs to actually help Pattersonians become homeowners in this city. Now, to give you a little bit of perspective, Patterson is just one of the many cities that are in the 9th district. The reason why I bring up Patterson quite a bit, though, is because Patterson alone makes up 35% of the vote in the 9th district. There's another city, Passaic, which is similar to Patterson, but it's much safer, much cleaner, and much more well kept. Still has its crime, but not even nowhere near as bad as Patterson. The mayor there is actually doing a pretty good job. I've got no issue with him. He's a Democrat as well, but he's actually doing a pretty good job. In comparison to a place like Patterson, we're being sold out. We're being sold out to the highest bidder. And the GOP establishment that we have here, they're very, very weak. The Passaic County chairman himself, he, not too long ago, about two and a half weeks ago, at an event in Clifton, he mentioned in a room full of about 170 to about 200 Republicans that Bill Pascrell is his friend and how Bill Pascrell and him are related. Yeah. And then he mentioned in front of while I'm sitting in the audience, and he says, you know, we're going to win in all these cities, all the suburbs, essentially. Yeah, but we're going to concede Patterson and Passaic to the Democrats. Gee, I wonder why you would do that. Because Patterson and Passaic makes up 50% of the vote in the 9th district. You win those two cities and you win the whole district. So that's how the Democrats have kept control in the 9th district for over 20-something years. This is how Bill Pascrell has done the game. And when you have a weak GOP that deliberately chooses to lose, especially to someone that you claim is, not even claim, it's a fact at this point, someone that is your relative, someone that helps you get jobs for your friends and your family and your cohorts, but nothing for the people themselves, in my opinion, it's a big slap in the face. So it's not that I'm at war with the Passaic County GOP, but I'm calling them out for their hypocrisy. And I call them out quite a bit. There's been several types of retaliation of people trying to smear my name and destroy my character. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit back and allow this to happen. If we're going to talk about red waves, we're going to talk about tidal waves. You're never, ever, ever going to have a tidal wave in New Jersey, ever, until you go into the inner cities. That is a fact. Whether it's Patterson, Passaic, Irvington, Newark, Camden, Trenton, these are all massive inner cities, huge inner cities where the Democrats have made a stronghold. And if we're not in there, they're going to continue to win. Oh, but it's voter fraud. Of course, because you're not in there to even call it out. So we have to go in there. So the solution from the chairman of Passaic is, why don't you do it? Why don't you get the poll judges in there? Why don't you get people involved in Patterson? Then we'll invest. So then why are you the chairman? Wow. Why are you the chairman of this party? Because you're clearly demonstrating to everybody in the district that you don't care about the people. He's a pocketician. He cares about himself. He cares about his pockets, and he cares about his relative staying in power so that he maintains his control. And I'm sick and tired of that. So they can send whoever they want after me. But at the end of the day, I'm not backing down because people in my community are dying every single day because of this kind of weakness. The Democrats aren't going to change. They've already got a control grip. So it's up to me. It's up to my generation. These older people in the previous generation, they don't care about what's going on. They don't have to deal with the problems that I deal with or the people our community deal with. So I'm sticking my neck out where no one else will.
You have amazing energy. I can tell anyone listening to this knows that you're fired up. It's almost like you have to get upset and angry to be like, fuck it. I have to get involved. Like if I don't do this, you know, it's almost like you feel kind of called by like God or like, you know, whoever you believe in. It's like you're kind of called to do this. And it really seems like the people in power are just doing the least and just self-serving. And the more folks I talk to, like Tina Forte, who is running against AOC, I've talked to Larry Sharp, who ran against Cuomo in 2018. To me, just as an outsider, it seems, like running for any office is this like, bougie kind of elitist kind of Ivy League club, and how does a regular person, was that kind of at all? And you don't seem like someone who's intimidated by anything. Like you have your shit together. Was there any part of the process of running for office that was like, oh, you feel like it's set up in a way to kind of exclude the average person? Or was there anything that you learned or had to kind of get over to, It
is to some degree. So look, me, like one of my good friends, Jasmine, she tells me all the time, like, Bill, you're like a bull in the china shop. Like, you just don't give a damn. You're going to run over anything. But this isn't my first rodeo. During my first run, I did kind of feel like the odds were stacked against me. But at the same time, the GOP makes you feel that way. Like, oh, you can never beat Pascrell. Oh, he's super entrenched. He's a multimillionaire. Like, why are you wasting time in his race? Why don't you be a councilman so that you could be under the thumb of the mayor and then under the thumb of Bill Pascrell, so you have no power? Essentially, they will try and push these kinds of ideas on me, like, oh, Bill, in order for you to win, you got to have the line. I'm not certain if New York has a line system, but for the people that don't know what a line is basically the county parties choose who they put on the ballot. Essentially, you have to demonstrate your ability to be a worthy candidate, and then they offer you the line and say, hey, here's the slogan that you use, and you'll be the name that's on the ballot. I had a ballot. Is it
for like working parties? It's like, how there's the different like you're running under the different parties. Is that the line?
Yes. So I actually have a ballot right here, so I could show you. Actually, this one in Passaic County is not like that. But basically, to give you an example, is like if you were to.
Oh wait, let me put you in solo layout.
So I can kind of give you a bit of an idea.
Yeah. All right, go for it.
It doesn't necessarily say on this ballot, but if you looked in other districts, when your name was on the ballot in Passaic County, they don't necessarily do it. But here, for Donald Trump, typically it wouldn't say Republican. It would say the Passaic County Regular Republican Organization or the Bergen County Republican Organization, because they're the ones who endorse you to be put on the ballot. There's other Republicans that are on there. This is only during the primary election, though, because you're running against other Republicans. So basically, it's their way of saying, we, the Republicans, are going with this guy. Everyone else is irrelevant. Choose the people that we do. People typically vote straight down the line, which is a system that I cannot stand. And New Jersey is, I believe, one of two or three states that still use this system. Everywhere else is an open primary. It's every man goes, wild, wild west, like it should be. May the best man win. But you have an advantage by having the party do this. And the problem that I hate about this so much is that the party uses the line as an opportunity to control the candidates. If you don't do this, if you keep talking to that person or you keep pushing this promotion, we'll make sure you won't get the line. Like, for example, the Clifton Republican chairman just recently, when I put a video out, basically, chastising the Passaic County chairman at his event, I grabbed the microphone and told him, like, Bill Pascrell is your friend. He is your relative. We're not going to concede. You can do that, but we're not, and I had to call that out. I felt like he was trying to slide me. The Clifton chairman's like, oh, you need to delete that video because if you do, I'm on the executive board and we'll make sure that you don't get on the line and you won't be on the ballot. And all this bullshit, excuse my language, but it's like they'll use this kind of stuff to kind of put you under their thumb. But at the end of the day, what I've learned and I realize is, one, I've got a huge reach, right? And that's not just me boosting my egos. Like, I've got a huge reach. A lot of people resonate with my message. A lot of people are pissed off and sick and tired of what they're saying. So I'm like, listen, at the end of the day, if you're not gonna give me the line, which I'm pretty sure they're gonna. In fact, I'm almost positive at this point they're trying to run up some sheep to be the sheep to the slaughter to try and primary me. They're gonna give that person the line. But at the end of the day, if they do that, everybody's watching them and everybody sees that they're running for they're literally trying to set up the Democrats to win. Who else has done what I've done in the 9th district? Who else is willing to go into the hoods of Patterson and do what I do? None of them, because they would be doing it right now if that was the case. So they'll try and put somebody else to try and run against me, to try and steal votes away from me, essentially. But at the end of the day, it shows that not only is the party weak, but they don't want to win. And most importantly, is I believe even if they were to do something like that, I will still beat the line. That could be me just with wishful thinking, but at the end of the day, there's enough people that know me in this district and have seen what I've done in this district that they'll be able to see right through their own nonsense. Say the party really doesn't want to win. Okay. So, and they know that, I'm not afraid to go out there and speak about it. So it's like, if they want to do that and try and run it that way, then that's on them. If they want to work together and actually win this district and unseat Bill Pascrell, then they're not going to play those kinds of games, because they know I'm not playing those games.